In October 2021, Duval County school bus driver Lisa Mims was involved in a crash that she says derailed her life.
Now, no students were on the bus at the time, and neither she nor the bus monitor was seriously injured. But she was charged with a DUI, even though she blew a 0 on 2 breathalyzer tests.
Now, the charges were dropped in 2022, but she says the stigma remains.
So in a story you'll see only on First Coast News, she's speaking out for the first time to our Katie Jeffries about what happened that morning.
Nobody trapped in there, is there?
Body camera video from a Jacksonville sheriff's officer reveals the scene on 295 at the I-10 ramp.
Yeah, there's 2 in there.
In the early morning hours of October 28, 2021.
How the hell did they get up in there?
The responding officer shocked by how deep into the brush the school bus had gone.
I was like, whoa, and I just gripped the steering wheel.
Lisa Mims tells us that morning she was taking a different route than her usual routine. And as she went into the turn, something felt off.
The brakes didn't feel right.
She says the bus began to fishtail.
I didn't even make it into the turn. All hell broke loose after that.
There were no students on the bus.
Okay.
The bus monitor on board was shaken but had no serious injuries. Mims was not seriously injured either, but says she had cuts on her arms and struck her head on the steering wheel in the crash. And noticed one more thing.
I know I was wet. My shirt, my face, and I was rubbing my eyes.
At the time, she didn't know why, but it would become important later. In the body camera video, captured by 2 responding Jacksonville sheriff's officers, provided to us by Mims' attorney, you can see her in a white shirt after she was helped from the bus by JFRD.
Said the brakes just went all the way to the floor.
With the crash being on an interstate, it was under Florida Highway Patrol's jurisdiction. The responding trooper was Gregory Johnson. After looking at the bus up in the brush, he goes to talk to Mims.
What happened?
Then the question of alcohol is brought into the conversation.
I think she's got body perfume and stuff on too. I couldn't tell.
They go to get an opinion from the other officer on scene.
Could you smell anything on her?
No.
Trooper Johnson and a JSO officer go back to Mims and read her rights.
You have the right to remain silent.
Before asking,
Have you had anything to drink at all?
Not drink.
Okay, that's all.
she informs them she did hit her head on the steering wheel before the trooper begins the eye test.
Keep your head still.
Walking away,
I saw a slight.
I did too. Did you? I did.
they discuss the results.
Because you saw what I saw, right? I was making sure. I'm like, yeah.
It's his opinion, his subjective opinion.
Dexter Van Davis is Lisa Mims' attorney.
He points something at her eyes and said, cause her eyes jump, then that's alcohol. But it jumps for other reasons, like she hit her head. It'll say head injuries will cause your eyes to jump.
Okay, ma'am.
Reports show Trooper Johnson also gave Mims 2 more physical field sobriety tests and felt she performed poorly. Mims says she has multiple sclerosis, which impacts her walking and balance. Mims was arrested on charges of careless driving and DUI, but reports show she was given a breathalyzer in jail, and it came back as 0.000 twice.
It might not be nothing, but I just want to go through the steps to clear.
Also, a screening for any controlled substances was negative.
Because I sit in the middle of the bus.
Reports state that the bus monitor with her that morning said he did not observe any signs of impairment. The only thing found in her system was Ambien, which can remain detectable in a person's blood for up to 48 hours. And Mims says she had taken a small amount 2 days before the arrest, but she did have a prescription for it. And as soon as she was charged, the headlines came. Mims says within a day, her life crumbled.
It just flattened me, Miss Jeffries. It was awful.
She lost her job driving the school bus and delivering cars and struggled to find work.
With her, it's gonna always be on her record. Internet never goes away, so people Google her name, it'll probably come up.
The charges were dropped by the state attorney's office in March of 2022 due to a lack of sufficient evidence. But Mims says the stigma of it has remained.
Devastating for her, especially someone who drove for a living.
Which is why Van Davis says they will be filing a lawsuit against Florida Highway Patrol.
The main thing is obviously observations.
We took questions about their DUI policies and the crash to Florida Highway Patrol.
There's a lot of different layers that go into that the officer has now combined, processed there, and then made the decision to arrest.
Master Sergeant Dylan Bryan is the public information officer with the Florida Highway Patrol in Jacksonville. He says the specific DUI units have an intoxilizer or breathalyzer in the vehicle, but the rest of the units do not. So then troopers base their decisions on how a person performs during the field sobriety tests.
The officer's trained to just follow his training and experience. And what I mean by that is, obviously the opinion is kind of a loose word, right? So the officer has the discretion to make that decision.
He says he cannot comment specifically on Mims' crash due to the potential pending litigation, but says when the state attorney's office decides to drop charges in a case, that is something they will go back and look at.
And we want to know why. Is there a reason why? Is there something that we can improve our processes?
As for the alcohol smell and why she was wet after the crash, the more Mims reflected on that morning, she thinks she knows where that may have come from.
The smell and what was in your eyes, did you figure out what that was?
Hand sanitizer.
From the bus when you impacted?
So we had a gigantic bottle, and so on impact, bam, it broke.
She says as it approaches 3 years since the crash, she wants her name cleared in the public eye and will hopefully be able to move forward with her life.
You have ruined my life, Mr. State Trooper, with your overzealous thinking.
Right now what I'm going to go into is a DUI investigation.
These guys don't take this lightly. Taking somebody into custody, taking their liberties away from them is a big deal, and we understand that. So it's not something that we take lightly.